You've tried leaving behind the doubt, the weakness, all of it. You were once a heathen who broke your code for the captain, and you have spent the years atoning for what you did. You'll never forsake your vows again, not for the captain or anyone else. But the captain called upon you once more, and this is your chance to prove that your faith will make you a mighty weapon. You can save all the worlds, and your conviction and courage will see you through. But the captain still sees past you, and you feel your faith wavering under their scrutiny. The rest of the crew sees through you, and how close you are to straying from the path. But you know the price faith asks for, and you're willing to pay it again and again. Will you rise through the doubt and reawaken your soul? Or will you fall prey to your worst instincts and leave corruption and horror in your wake?
My name is Ian. I use they, them pronouns, and I will be playing the role of the Bound, who is kind of a place between faith and duty and trying to figure out what that means in this world. My character's name is Arisen Johan Argos. Arisen is a title. Johan first name, Argos last name. Uses they, them pronouns. They can be best described as intense. Johan is part of a religious order called the Blue Stella Compact, which, if you've read, not that I would recommend this author, but if you've read the guy who wrote Ender's Game, he did a sequel to Ender's Game that has this character that is part of a religion that speaks for the dead. So if you want to pirate Ender's Game's sequel and read that, it's sort of a similar vibe where it's somebody who goes and speaks basically the full story of somebody who has passed away. And the Blue Stella Compact takes a lot from that, but instead of just speaking for the dead, the practitioners and holy folks in that Stella Compact essentially get tattoos that are technologically and kind of spiritually bound to the people whose stories that they have vowed to take care of. So most wardens or arisens of the Stella Compact end up having some number of small square kind of... If you've seen the hieroglyphics that you would see in indigenous ruins in Mexico, kind of those square, very stylized runes just across the skin, usually in a light blue sort of ink that glows and is bioluminescent because we're in the fun space future. The planet that they've settled on is a more oceany type planet, a lot of water, so lots of sun. So Johan essentially is clean-shaven, more androgynous in terms of presentation, generally wearing sleeveless robes so as to show arms and everything, and comfortable kind of dark blue pants that go along with these robes that kind of sit on top. And if you're thinking sort of D&D monk situation, similar vibes. Shaved head, eyes that are very intense and kind of do not blink unless Johan maybe chooses to blink, although it's normal blinking otherwise, but when somebody needs to get the business, they obviously get the most intense stare. The thing that maybe sets Johan apart is that they have some tattoos that are not that light blue that you would recognize as part of the Blue Stella Compact. A lot of their tattoos actually are a sort of brilliant, almost upsetting to look at red. And they are not the color they should be, and occasionally they start to sort of almost steam or bleed, a psychic wound. So Johan's almost entirely aware that these tattoos are related to the loss that was suffered at the edge of the universe with the captain.
The captain who you haven't seen for many years.
It's been a long time. These tattoos were not present when the captain last saw Johan. Johan has actually taken the time to add them in honor of everybody that was lost that day, only to find that each one that was added began to take on that sickly, intensive red, and very much point out that wherever these people are, they are somewhere between life and death. And that drills into Johan's core in a way that has made them not exactly super pleasant. Good words that kind of come up when you think of Johan would be very devout, very zealous, deeply sad, and certainly ready to stand up for those and for themselves who, in such a way where whenever somebody's kind of threatening this peace that they've started to develop. At the moment, they're in the middle of a ritual that would involve specifically denoting and demarcating and orating the story of somebody who has passed. So this would be Johan kind of pressing upon one of the tattoos, in which a sort of psychic bleed, an ether sort of opens up, and Johan breathes it in and begins to recite the story of this person who was probably a pilgrim that ended up at this temple on this ocean planet and had like last rites done, and this was like their big journey that they wanted to make before they passed away. And the ritual's been done before, but it's a nostalgic story that Johan likes. So Johan is not above retelling it in moments of distress or in moments where their faith is being, if not shaken, a little bit rattled, just because something about today has made Johan very much believe that a bad time is a-coming.
Who are you telling this story to? Are you just telling it to yourself, or are there people watching?
I would say that there's a small community here that is present for this oration. The temples for the Blue Stella Compact are not exactly like, they're not hip and hopping, because it is at the end of the day a religion founded on grief and transcending that grief and taking on these stories and this task. So it's not that it's a very serious religion, but it is one that, you know, people aren't coming in here and there's a band playing. This is more so people are coming in here and respectfully taking in this information, and some of them are family members, some of them are visiting. Some people just like to hear stories, and that is something that a Grand Warden of the Blue Stella Compact usually provides.
So tell me a little bit about part of the story that you're telling.
So this is a pilgrim named Botos that had ended up on this planet near the end of his life. His family had brought him. He had an adult son and an adult daughter. Brother and sister had brought him to this planet essentially to pass away peacefully. The planet that he was originally from was a little bit out of his reach, access-wise, and this is the closest to where Botos kind of grew up, which is a similar, very island archipelago-y heavy planet, where kind of gets the chance to enjoy an environment that he was really used to, because for a long time, Botos was living in a more cityscape-type planet. If we're going kind of by Star Wars vibes, where this planet has a lot of technology, and Botos just wanted a chance to sit by the sea last couple of times with remains of the family that he had. So I start from the beginning. I'm like talking about this person's childhood and about the experiences they had, how he left his original planet, how he ended up with his two kids, and what sort of brought him low, which to that case was he was living in that city planet for long enough that he developed some breathing problems. So partially this is like some fresh air too, but he didn't have very long left by the time they were able to bring him here. At this point, the adult son has already left back to wherever he would want to go back to, but the adult daughter is still here and taking part in some of the rituals to help with the mourning process. So she's really more off to the side in like an assistant type role and taking in the experience.
As you're sharing this story, you catch a glimpse of a familiar figure. Before I get to the question I'm supposed to ask you, I have another one I would like to ask.
Yeah, of course.
As you catch a glimpse of the captain, imagine your mind flashes back to the time where you and she would have spent the most time together on the ship. What room of the ship was that?
Oh, I would say that it was a pretty large ship. Like, we're talking able to hold a pretty massive crew, given how many tattoos I now have. So I would say I think the place I ended up the most was an observation deck that was a little out of the way. It wasn't the main one. It wasn't where like crew members would go on dates and stuff. It was kind of a more disused observation deck that oftentimes would have a great view of like an engine block that would disturb most of the nice views, but it meant that it was very quiet. And I want to say that their relationship was, if not contentious, one of we meet each other on neutral ground, so to speak. We don't necessarily discuss anything too important, like in hallways or in between. Like if we want to have a intense conversation, this is the neutral ground that we have decided between the two of us. So there's like a few folding out chairs that kind of are able to be pressed back into the side, and Johan probably has some sort of, I wouldn't say drink, because I don't think Johan drinks alcohol or anything equivalent.
Like a tea, maybe?
Yeah, I think a tea would probably work the best with the sort of thing that is a lot of the Blue Stella Compact practitioners are known for, is they do have to kind of intake psychic feedback from people that have passed. So a lot of people liken that to imbibing in a substance, but it wouldn't necessarily, it would be for a more religious purpose. As a result, because that is the main thing that they end up imbibing, they have enjoyed tea as their main vice, which is, I'm sure, frustrating to other crew members.
I'm pretty sure Helena finds that amusing. And I picture, yeah, maybe we don't talk a lot, like just passing in the hallways, like we're friendly, but we keep it neutral. But we have like intensely deep philosophical discussions over tea.
Yes, 100%.
If there's ever something like real world that you want to talk about or that she needs to talk about, that might come up, but for the most part, it's just very theoretical, philosophical discussions.
It's like how Jean-Luc Picard is always drinking tea and having intense conversations with people. Sort of that vibe.
Yeah. You and I have very different perspectives, because you grew up... Actually, did you grow up did Johan grow up devoutly religious?
Interestingly enough, no. Johan started off pretty much like unruly, messy, probably from like a kind of salvage planet where a lot of space junk ended up, and ended up kind of stumbling into the Blue Stella Compact because the main people that were granting them shelter ended up calling them when they were afraid that like an accidental wound was going to get a lot worse. And to hear somebody just tell the tale of these people that, even though they raised Johan didn't really know them that well, to hear people like express it so cleanly and clearly, like this person's whole life, was something that really stuck with Johan. And so even though they kind of came in like punk rock-esque into the order, they are much more devout now, especially after the events at the edge of the universe, than they were certainly when they were on the ship, and certainly when they were children.
Yeah. And Helena has never been particularly religious. If anything, she probably believes in some form of fate, but in a fate that you get to choose and you get to make, because she was raised by a like high-level mob person.
Mm-hmm. Heck yeah.
So very different points of view, and some of those conversations we have flash through your mind as you see me for the first time since I told you to get in the escape pod. And how does my presence disrupt this ritual? Why do you want me to participate anyway?
So I stumble. I don't get a chance. I mean, I think Johan is definitely the kind of person who, when doing this, it's kind of second nature now. They've poured so much of themselves into really improving their connection to themselves and their faith and everything like that, that they're a fantastic public speaker now. Whereas maybe when they were still on the ship, they would occasionally throw in jokes and stumble and have a good time with it. So for the first time, maybe for the people that live in this small town on this island, I would stumble. And that would bring them pause. But I quickly kind of keep going. And I would probably turn as I'm finishing. I gesture for Phoebe, who's the adult daughter of Botos, who has passed, and I'm telling Botos' story. I gesture for her to pull you from the group and bring you to the front. Because if you're disturbing my peace, I get to disturb yours a little bit.
There's a bit of a shit-eating grin going on in Helena's face as she does come forward and acts like this was her plan all along. It wasn't, but she's rolling with it.
And with a completely placid tone, burying beneath years of pain and resentment because I thought, I have one of yours, but then it didn't light up or turn red, so I knew you were alive in that moment.
I think at one point we talked about you didn't get her.
Oh, right. No, I didn't get one of yours. So I think I noticed that you're one alive. I don't have a tattoo of you, so I never deigned to learn your fate because of how upset I was at this moment where I, turned away from my faith and did not try to help in those final moments. So it's completely placid as you approach. This next part does require a witness to speak at this moment. Now, you may not be from this community, but I think it's always fun to give somebody a clean shot, if possible. Now, with Botos, as you've been hearing, his life was not easy. his lungs began to fail him much younger than they would for any other, and he came here seeking those peaceful final moments. I would like for you to take in some of this story yourself, and hold it, and let it go.
I would be honored.
All right. And that kind of haze that comes from the tattoo floats forward, and I'm almost directing it with my hands. It's almost like moving smoke in a way, and I push a little bit towards you. And it's psychic, like haze feedback sort of thing.
Yeah, I've seen you do this before, even if I haven't been the witness, so I know what to do.
You receive the memory of when the Bodos' adult children find him in the city planet, and they see just how much damage the work and the time has done to him. They have this look of like fear, and he has this like real look of almost distress and shame, because he doesn't want his kids to see him like this. He wanted them to keep living their lives and move on past him, but they came back to check on him, and he is both heartbroken that he has to put them through this, but also honored that they would come back despite how difficult their life was growing up. And for someone who is not used to receiving intense emotions from somebody else, it is probably a lot, because you mentioned you had not participated. And I think it is on purpose that I choose a very empathic and intensive memory. I don't give you like what I would give like a regular practitioner or somebody who's coming in from the crowd, where it would probably be the memory of like a reuniting with the family, or like a family dinner or something like that, of like, you know, like feel this feeling and grant it back to me. I handed you like one that is heartbreaking.
Hi, here's the trauma I've been through because of you.
Yeah, no, it is very much echoing Johan's whole deal. It is expertly chosen. I have gotten very good at this since you've last seen me.
Yeah, I think Helena also tries to do like the calm stoic, but you can tell she's feeling everything you wanted her to feel like with this, and like if she has her hands on resting on her cane, you can see signs of their shaking slightly. And she doesn't hide from you the look in her eyes that says she's also been living with this pain, and she regrets what she had to do.
So they see it in your eyes and nod. You honor this memory, and I honor you. You may be seated.
She goes to sit down, and I think you have the question for me.
I do. How does the sight of me renew your faith? And why is it important that I believe in you?
I think that while Helena did not grow up with any form of faith in anything beyond what she could build with her own hands, through working with you and some of the others to try and defeat the enemy the first time, she got to see what faith looks like, how someone's faith impacts other people, as well as how it helped you handle what we were going up against, because what we were going up against was terrifying. And in our conversations, I think she wanted to have a faith in something like that. She didn't really know how, but you were kind of showing her how to have faith, how to believe in something bigger than herself. And seeing that, like, even though, yes, you did go against your vows when you followed me, I don't know if she realizes you didn't get her name done. I think she does see the others.
Yeah.
Where there's something that definitely went wrong, so that's also hurting too. Mm-hmm. It's like, here are the names of the people you left behind, and they're not dead yet.
Yeah.
Maybe there's hope for me too.
I like that because that implies a familiarity with the the codified language I use. Like I might have taught you some of it, so you recognize some of the names, even though they're glowing like an unhealthy red.
I've probably asked you so many questions about your faith.
100%.
In the beginning, it might have been a little bit more of a dismissive tone, but I was genuinely curious and very much respected it towards the end, and I still carry that respect.
And I think that's, even despite my barely contained rage, I do recognize that about the situation at hand. Why is it important that I believe in you?
I know the truth and the strength behind your faith. I know what it means. You're still here. You are still practicing and following this belief, fulfilling this duty that most people wouldn't deign to commit themselves to because of the cost. And if you still believe in me, then maybe we have a chance. And if you still believe in me, it doesn't matter if I die, my story will live on. And maybe I'll be known as something other than Jasper Vale's daughter. After people start to leave and we get a moment alone to talk, I imagine you have questions beyond just how dare you and the audacity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, those are the first two, but I hold those back. As people shuffle out of the small chapel, it's kind of the whitewash, like weather-beaten type thing. It's a very Santorini kind of look of this place. But I think I sigh and sit down and stare directly forward. Not directly at you, just forward. Words are failing me, Helena. They do not fail me often.
Part of me does wish I had come sooner, but I didn't want to disturb, ruin anyone's life more than I already had.
I'm not the one you would have disturbed. If anything, what you did pushed me to care for my faith much more than when you knew me last. They're still alive, sort of. These only glow if somebody dies, even across the galaxies. And they glow red when something has disturbed their death. I have counted 162 red squares that I have painstakingly added to my body. I can't know their full story, and when I try to, they're screaming. I can't tell enough stories to leave that behind.
If I had realized the way this would have placed on you, I wouldn't have invited you. I guess I'm saying I'm sorry is not enough, but that's all I have. I've spent every day since then trying to find some way to save them, some way to bring them back, and I don't know if we can save them, but I think I know a way we can end this for real this time.
So I first shirk my duties and join your crew, barely holding any names. And you ask me to do it again, only this time holding the names of every single one of your mistakes. One might start to think you enjoy the punishment.
One might be willing to argue that I deserve it.
Deserve and enjoyment are close cousins. So you have a plan?
I do.
How many of us?
Only a few. We've picked up Daxton. It's one more stop I want to make. Can't get too many, otherwise my father will realize what's going on.
I'm flattered you didn't save me for last.
I am waiting for the last one just because I'm pretty sure she's going to hit me, so I'm procrastinating a little bit.
Ah, this narrows it down.
Yeah.
If she hits you, you deserve at least one.
I agree to that. But I can't do this alone. And I can't sit by and wait to find out if there's some way for Father to undo what I did. You didn't see, did you?
See?
Father gave me something that he said would be able to help stop it, help shut the whole thing down. But I realized just in time that he was just going to try and use it to control it. I sabotaged that, was able to at least partially shut it down, but it's waking up again. And if he realizes, he'll try again, and I can't think of much worse than either that waking up, that getting out, or him having control of it.
You make it difficult to say no. If I'm being transparent, I honor every living thing with a story to tell, with my whole heart. But with your father, there's a pause and an urge to spit. When do we leave?
Whenever you're ready.
I don't have much on me. I travel pretty light these days. You still have our tea, right?
I've got some and I know where to get some more.
Well, if I'm going to sail to death with you, I might as well have some creature comforts.
And the questions for ending the ritual before we draw the card to see if you're actually loyal or not. I ask you, what will make you break your vows?
If you run. If we're in a similar, or even vaguely near to what we were in before, and you run and you decide to try to, even if you decide to try to save us, if you turn your back, that will be enough. And I will not only, bury your name, I will never speak it again for the rest of my days. However limited they might be, given the situation.
That's valid and fair, and also, ouch.
Why will you never be as faithful as I?
There's always going to be a part of me, partially because of how I grew up, that is going to be more focused on self-preservation. Some of that is an instinct and something that I've been working on, but it's a mix of that and I know I'm not a hero, I know I'm not a good person. I don't want to degrade anyone's faith by claiming it as also being mine.
I like
so
that.
Now for the cards.
Oh boy.
So, keeping it real random. Right or left?
Ooh, left. Hey, that is a black loyalty. So
Yeah.
I get the 2 of clubs to my hand.
Yeah. Guess we both describe why we want to believe in each other.
I think you're serious. I think you really believe that you can stop it this time, because your internalized shame would not let you come back otherwise. I think you would never have come back otherwise. So the fact that you believe in this cause enough is faith to me, even if it's not faith that is the same as mine. I respect others' faith, and I often tell stories of people who have different faiths than my own. So the fact that you showed up and ate that emotion and ate that very tension, crunchy-filled conversation means that you believe in something. And someone who believes in something doesn't run away. And so that's enough for me.
I think the fact that you're willing to trust me and you are willing to go with me on this journey, knowing that this may not even fix anything. You might be stuck with those names forever. But if there's anyone that can find a way to give them peace, it's you. And you, when you commit to something, you are the single most dedicated living person I've ever met in my life. And that faith, that peace you're able to find is something I'd like to learn how to do for myself. And maybe when this is over, I'll be able to. Either that or my name will be remembered or forgotten, buried deep as it should be.
There we go.
Though hopefully not as deep as my dad's name, he sucks.
Oh yeah, no, I was like I love the structural setup of I respect all life, but with you, I stumble. That's how much of a hater I am to this person.
I do respect all living things, but you, sir, in particular, fuck you.
Yeah,
and everything you stand for.
I'm gonna look for loopholes when I deal with you.
Yeah. How long do you think it takes for you to get ready and get things arranged before you're ready to leave?
I don't make a production of it, but I think it takes a night. I think I leave missives on the door to the chapel that I will be traveling. I send a communique to another warden to come and take this station. and to read the names. And I think the community names specifically, I take and I press and let and release kind of the psychic story. And we carry around these kind of metal cylinders that essentially can hold on to that resonance for a little bit. And so I leave that with like this community stories that like numbering in the of the ones I've taken since I've gotten here. Probably been like they're pretty small tattoos, so I'm imagining they're like around an inch or so. I probably have like 30 or 40 just from this community in particular, and I take them and I press them onto the cylinder. And I now have a little bit more space, but my right shoulder is almost always glowing red and kind of hissing in that way. But I do have a little bit more space for names, and I leave those to whoever comes after me. And I take a rucksack and I pack things up and I head out.
And I think when you get to the ship, you find in the quarter set aside for you a picture. It's very similar to the ship we originally traveled on, like a similar production line, but smaller in size.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
We're flying with the skeleton crew.
Yeah.
You know, we have fewer people going this time, but there's still enough space for everyone to have space so I don't get murdered.
It's good, it's good.
Girl gotta survive somehow.
Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah. And you find there's a little thing where you can make your own tea.
Oh. Yeah, I sit down and I start to steep it. And I kind of look at the ocean planet as we leave. And I really do think that that was probably the most peaceful I was, even like with the undercurrent of intensity underneath it. And I don't regret it leaving, but I certainly am looking at it like, I don't think I'll be seeing this place again. But I can dream.